She said Ian was too nice in his content cup. Trust me.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today we are back with a brand new H3 iDubbbz and this time Anisa video. I'd like to immediately address that if I do sound a little bit different in this video, it's probably because I've started to get a cold, which is just, fantastic. But I will happily push through to cover more iDubbbz and Anisa making an absolute fool of themselves. But without further ado, without me prolonging it even more, let's dive straight into the topic at hand. The basis of today's video all starts from one tweet from Anisa. It's okay to find me attractive and still hate me. I know it's confusing for some of you, don't worry, I won't tell anyone. So this was like a weird addressal to people that have been hating on her and also trying to fish for compliments at the same time. It's really weird, comes off as just incredibly funny, and people have memed this to absolute shit, including Ethan Klein H3 himself. It is okay to find me attractive and still hate me. I know it's confusing for some of you, don't worry, I won't tell anyone, with an edited picture of himself attached. Realistically, this shouldn't cause any type of controversy or stir the pot. Realistically, Ethan has made a jab at something that Anisa has posted publicly, which, she's also trying to make a jab at the people that are going against her, so realistically this shouldn't stir the pot, but, as you can tell by the length of the video, it did. Anisa responds to Ethan with, Ethan's actually starting to really creep me out at this point, which is just genuinely a weird and malicious response to have to something like this. Ethan Klein simply clowned on you for something that you posted publicly, something that everyone else was clowning on you for posting publicly. It was humiliating. It's a really bad, funny post. I mean, there's simply nothing creepy with taking a few shots at you, and it's become very, very clear that you are just doing this to try and frame Ethan Klein in the most malicious light possible. I think it's important to note that Ethan Klein and Anisa had kind of had a little backwards and forwards before this as well, where Ethan Klein was responding to some of Anisa's Instagram stories about staying educated. This is kind of just important for later on within the video. Then a Twitter on user then responded to Anisa saying this: he got upset that you posted about anti-Semitism earlier today. It explains why my DMs on Instagram are full of the most vitriolic hate I've seen in a while. I really just like the Jewish writer, and he explains really why trying to co-opt the word anti-Semitic to a broader group of people is in itself anti-Semitic and a racist. The history of the word, why it's important to not fall down that hole, and the erasure of the Jewish experience and struggle, and he got mad at me, dude, what the hell. I do like Anisa's framing here, like it's somehow Ethan's fault that people then went into her DMs responding to something that she posted publicly to then give their opinion or to give some thoughts or just even to spread hate to her, which I do not encourage whatsoever. She posted something publicly, that's what you're going to get. That's pretty simple. Ethan responded to something you posted publicly, deal with it. Oh, shut the fuck up. Who was subtweeting me during the Hassan debate, making light of anti-Semitic tropes like inbred? No, girl, you are the only creep here. Typical cry bully tactics employed by all your friends. Also, your you hate me because I'm hot post is cringe, creepy, and just plain bizarre, so let's be real, and it's a great copy pasta laughing face. Oh yeah, and forget my favourite quote-unquote drugs. Literally, F you, and you know me in real life, and know that I have Tourettes, and you're still willing to take such a low blow? You are a terrible person, talentless, perpetual failure. Be honest, this content cop was your idea. Ian didn't even know what Zionism was 3 days ago before posting the video. I'm not joking, I've seen the combo. So count the new content cop as another feather in your dunce cap. Now, Ethan actually elaborates on what he says there further down the line, but we will get there when we get there in timeline order. Lisa responds with, no way he's on the full alright incel pipeline, ha 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 ha. He thinks I'm the evil witch. It's your manic, desperate behaviour that makes me think you're on drugs. You can't even finish a sentence half the time. Your tics have nothing to do with it. Post this on Twitter, pussy. I mean, come on Anisa, don't try and kid yourself. We all know why you've been spreading that perpetual lie about him being on drugs and why all the snarkers and other people have been saying Ethan is on drugs, and it's not because of that. And why does it matter that Ethan is posting this not on Twitter and another social media platform? It really does not matter whatsoever, and you can equally spin this as, Ethan is currently talking about all of this on livestream, addressing you publicly on livestream. Why can't you hop on a livestream and address him publicly, you pussy? Ian was too nice in his content cop. Trust me, if I was pulling the strings, it would have looked a lot different. No mercy for creepy, misogynistic losers who can't handle criticism. I mean, yeah, Anisa, I can see that Ian was being too nice in his content cop, because I mean, he disavowed content cops. He said nobody deserved a content cop, and then he dropped one on his close friend after previously speaking about it on a podcast, saying he wouldn't drop a content cop on anyone else and he wouldn't be getting involved in a situation, backstabbing his friend, being incredibly disingenuous, and not bringing things up like the CPS call. I think that was pretty nice, and especially because he including himself crying to show you that he was being empathetic and nice towards him.
It's just really, it's really hard to be, a couple online.
Also love in that reply how she was just picking words out from a dictionary, you know, trying to brand him as the most horrific things possible, you know, misogynistic, just trying to throw anything that would stick at Ethan and anything that Hassan, iDubbbz audience would buy, so, you know, trying to latch onto to make Ethan seem as bad as possible. Based, Ian went nice, came from the angle of almost an intervention, plus bits, he tried to offer the way back from this wild and prolonged crash out as a friend, but Ethan's so far gone, there's no accepting that kindness. I love my husband, the best thing about him is his constant way to create a fair and balanced world, so appreciate why he did what he did. I'm just a lot less that way and I don't have much room for understanding when someone's clearly doing so much damage. It's just so frustrating to see this narrative constantly being pushed that Ian was being so kind and generous by dropping this video on Ethan with all his worst attractors, you know, being incredibly disingenuous by not mentioning the CPS stuff, and you know, this was clearly an intervention for his friend who's having a prolonged crash out. And there's actually more holes in that than iDubbbz's hairline. You call me an incel red pill loser and say post this to Twitter pussy. Isn't your account private? You understand the post on Twitter supports the ultimate red pill incel loser, Elon Musk. That's why I'm not on it. Clearly you need the validation so bad that you're willing to forego any actual convictions you might have. But if we've learned anything in the past month, is that you guys are much more comfortable with than I previously thought. So responds with, my account's public, also you left Twitter because you got outed as an Islamophobic freak and everyone made fun of you. He then says the most crazy thing ever, I always had a feeling you hated Arabs after I heard you joke that AB was one of the good ones in your podcast years ago. Over time it's just become more and more obvious that's what you are and it's repulsive. Everyone knows what you are, crying on your stories won't save you. Simply put, Anisa, if that was a thing that you always thought, why did you actively use him to promote Creator Clash? Why did you stay friends with him? You know, you've just sold out your entire moral argument there. Quote unquote, best friend of 9 years. We talk like once a year at best. They didn't even know we lived in Seattle. So presumptuous of him to think that's why everyone thinks he's on drugs. Like, I knew him in real life. Like he said, his behavior now is so stark to how I knew him. Maybe even thinks that because all the people saying he was on drugs were posting clips of him twitching and sniffling and doing all the things that his Tourettes make him do. And people pointing to that behavior and saying this is erratic and a sign that he's on drugs. Maybe that's why he thinks that people are saying that he's on drugs because of his Tourette's. Ethan then starts responding by saying, so you're saying that what you thought about me before the content cop, in other words, you were a two-faced liar and a fake friend. Every time Anisa humiliates herself, another corny dollar star tattoo appears on her. You always knew I hated Arabs, to fuck lol, and you kept pretending to be my friend and using my show to promote your defunct boxing event. Super genuine person you are. My wife is more Arab than you are, by the way. And my entire extended family. You absolute fool. So those were the best bits of the Twitter and Instagram, like backwards and forwards. There are a few more replies, but nothing that really adds to anything that we haven't already covered or gone over. It's very clear Anisa is just losing her mind here. She's having a crash out. And you know, I thought that therapy was meant to stop her from responding publicly like this. Or, you know, that's what she claimed at least. But this story does not stop there. No. Because H3 responded to Anisa furthermore on a live stream. So we got a lot more content to dive into.
That got me going this weekend. I was having fun goofing on her a little bit in my stories. And it all started with this post that was on the subreddit that was next level cringe, I have to say. I
mean, yeah, there's no ulterior motives or factors behind this. It was just an incredibly cringe post, very easy to make fun of. She's trying to address kind of haters and people that are hating on them by, you know, getting a sick own and saying, you know, you're probably attracted to me. And it's very cringe, it's very funny, it's a very bizarre post. Of course, people are going to mock her. It's not this weird, creepy behavior from Ethan. Loads of people did it. I did it myself. You know, it's a very funny post.
So she says, Ethan is starting to really creep me out at this point. Like, what? She really is trying to do this narrative that I'm some, like, I think she's saying that I am attracted to her. Because she keeps calling me a creepy red pill incel. And so she says I'm creeping her out by memeing on this insanely cringe copy pasta.
Maybe that was her intention. I don't think that she was trying to say that Ethan, like, was attracted to her in any way. I think what she was saying was that he was incredibly weird, freaky, obsessive, that he was responding to this, and that, you know, it's weird that he's stalking her socials and posting about it 24/7. It's probably the route she was going down, but regardless, throwing around creepy here is just bizarre, trying to, like, you know, just cover him in a bunch of shit for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, what a terrible person she is, you know? And by the way, she tries to spin it like...
What was this combo that you're referring to?
I don't want to out them, but somebody sent me a convo of them talking to him about Zionism, and he was expressing that he didn't know anything about it. And this was a few days before his video came out.
Talking to Ian? Someone was talking to Ian?
I mean, of course, Ethan hasn't shown any proof to back this up, but let's say what he's saying is truthful here. That is genuinely insane, and I think that's genuinely hilarious that he had no idea what, any of that meant going into the content cop, and that, he had to kind of educate himself a few days before the content cop to, actually make sure that what he was saying made any type of sense, which of course the content cop just didn't.
Like, what a imbecile. It was jaw-dropping, right? And so she takes this as like, oh, I caught you. You're saying I'm the real evil one and not Ian. And obviously she's missing the point, as all these people do. No, the point is that I say it's your idea is because Ian doesn't even know what the fuck Zionism is. He doesn't know shit about this. And it's clear that he doesn't know shit about this when watching the video. He doesn't know anything. Of
course, Anisa tried to use it as Anisa's the real bad person, not iDubbbz. iDubbbz hasn't done anything wrong. It's Anisa. She's controlling. She's the one that's made him do all this bad stuff, all the things you've got an issue with him for, which, for the past couple of years has been a narrative from a few people that, Anisa is truly the bad person that's, like, corrupted iDubbbz or whatever, which clearly isn't what Ethan is trying to portray here.
Isn't, like, a known thing that they collaborate on these videos, too?
Yes, it's a known thing. Yeah.
So it's not like a leap.
She always taking credit. She goes, oh, the Jake Paul thing was actually my idea. Like, she's always trying to take credit for it.
Right, which, and very well may have been, but that's why I don't think it's like a huge leap.
No, I'm not doing the Anisa is the problem with everything. I think, it takes two to tango. I think they're both disgusting losers.
I mean, see, he's even gone against that narrative right here, which is really funny. I would love to see what Anisa has to say in response to that, because I'm assuming she won't actually respond to this, and if she does, she will be incredibly malicious and disingenuous with how she decides to tackle it. I also think it's hilarious that Anisa's husband, iDubbbz, hasn't weighed in on any of this, and he's always said that it's so hard to be a couple online. You'd think that maybe he would stick up for his partner online if it's so hard to be a couple online.
It's your manic, desperate behavior that makes me think you're on drugs, really. Is that why everybody's saying I'm on drugs on the Snark subreddit? Because I'm being manic and not because I'm twitching and sniffing and stuff? You fucking liar, you dumb, disgusting liar. You can't even stand on your shit. You know what I mean? Just be honest. You're being ableist. That's it. You're saying my Tourette's makes me a bad person.
I mean, genuinely, there is actually no other reason why people would be tweeting this out if it wasn't for his Tourette's. They've been using his Tourette's against him to say that he's on drugs. It's very apparent, that's very clear. There's no other motives or other reasonings behind that. It's very, very clear what people are trying to do and what people are using, and they're not using anything else but his Tourette's.
She said Ian was too nice in his content cop. Trust me, if I was pulling the strings, it would have looked a lot different. No mercy for creepy, misogynistic losers who can't handle criticism. Now, what I thought was weird about this tweet is she's referring to things I said after the content cop as proof of stuff that she would have gone in for me on. Like, you don't understand how time works.
I see.
Is she having trouble with the flow?
On the one hand, though, in a way, is she not? She is kind of right. Maybe not for the right reasons, but Ian being too nice in the content cop, that was why that video fell so fucking flat, is his weird, like, trying to balance I'm being empathetic while also ripping into you.
But that wasn't iDubbbz being nice. That was iDubbbz trying to spin two narratives. That he is this changed and reformed guy, that he cares about people's emotions, that he is this empathetic guy. Look, I can show myself crying in a content cop. That's what he was trying to do. He wasn't trying to be nice towards Ethan. He wasn't trying to do that at all. He wasn't trying to be charitable, being kind, or whatever you want to say. He was trying to make himself look good and please the new audience that think that he's this new reformed guy that has changed completely, when that is simply not the case. Not him being a kind individual.
Yeah, also
it probably would have been more effective if he just leaned into it.
Yeah, I agree. He was trying to have his cake and eat it too.
Right.
Like,
I don't think anyone deserves
I need the
level.
internet to understand that I'm actually still this good guy. I'm still this new man, this good guy who doesn't ever want to make a content cop again.
Yeah, exactly. iDubbbz was trying to balance both narratives, which really didn't work in his favor. I mean, neither of them would ever work in his favor because there's so much stuff to go against both, but, you get me. It just did not work. He said I'm responding midstream by saying, Ethan Klein currently molding, drooling, and sputtering on his podcast, fighting every urge in his body to not call me a bitch. I mean, yeah, that's very obvious. Wouldn't you rather him try and hold that back and not just blatantly call you a bitch on a live stream? I think that's pretty polite. Well, that's all really I want to go over in today's video. There is some more denim stuff, in regards to the lawsuit.
Saw a lot of people confused on what this meant, so I was like, okay. I will elaborate. a little bit more. I saw a lot of people being like, well, I don't understand. Why would you start this journey and then say you're not going to do it? Why are you saying if? I'm saying if because the 10 days haven't run out yet. He can still retract his statements. The correct term to use there is if. Because if he retracts his statements, which he still has, $3 days?
So, you know, all the denim stuff is up in the air, and if you do want to see a video of me going over the most recent denims updates, I happily will, but today's video was, you know, focusing on Anisa and, you know, the lack of iDubbbz here, and, you know, it's great. It's just absolutely amazing. Everybody watching, what's your thoughts on Anisa's responses, what Ethan Klein has said? Please feel free to comment that all down below, and once you're done then, you might as well subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a future upload, especially when we be covering iDubbbz, H3, Anisa, and Hassan, and all those lovely fellows. But I've been your host, Samuel, and I will catch you in the next YouTube video. Goodbye.